Hello and welcome to Town Meeting TV's coverage of Essex Junction's elections. My name is Emily Brewer and I am joined today by Jemima Talbot. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So this program is part of a series of candidate forums hosted by Town Meeting TV in advance of Essex Junction's election day, Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. These forums are made possible by Town Meeting TV's generous underwriting partners. We thank you very much for your support. You can find all our forums at cctv.org/TMD2026 or on our Town Meeting TV YouTube channel where auto-generated captions are available. If you're tuning in on YouTube, we encourage you to click the subscribe button to stay tuned into local democracy this election season. So, Jemima, you are an incumbent candidate running again for a seat on the Essex Westford School Board representing the town of Essex. So what we are going to do today is we have a list of questions. We'll run through them and so folks can get to know you a little bit better. And if anybody happens to be tuning in live, we welcome your questions at 802-862-3966. And if you call in, we will definitely prioritize your question. And we just ask that you share your name, the town you live in, and you don't have to direct your question to all the candidates because it's just Jemima and I. That being said, we'll get started with our conversation. So Jemima, really appreciate you being here today. Just to begin, I'd love if you could just tell us why you're running again and how you're qualified to serve on the Essex Westford School Board, and what will be different for the school district if you are reelected.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here today to talk to everybody about the Essex Westford School District School Board because we're a pretty dynamic and exciting group of people, and I'm really excited to continue our work. I have been on the board for 4 years. That is 1 year that I filled in for someone who moved and 1 full term. And I'm running for a second term because I really want to continue the work that we have done. Under this school board, we have brought in a new superintendent, Dr. Mark Holodick, who has been really warmly received by the community and by the schools. And we completed Portrait of a Graduate, which is a process where the community and students and teachers all have input about what we want our graduates to know. It's really a tremendous program, and it's shaped education in our district. Some other things that we've been working on, particularly this year, that I'm so excited to continue is we have started working in committees so that our school board meetings, when we're all together, are a little bit more efficient. We have 3 committees. We have the Advocacy Committee. I'm the chair of that. We have the Finance Committee, and we have the Facilities Committee. Okay. All of these committees are open to the public. They run the same way as a school board meeting, but we bring the condensed outcome of the meetings to the school board and discuss voting, moving forward, objectives in a more condensed manner. I'm really excited about what we've done for advocacy in particular. We have been meeting with our representatives in Essex and talking to them primarily about our concerns and needs with regard to Act 73. Act 73 is about redistricting and changing the way in which schools are funded. Yep. And while we all know that taxes in Vermont are a huge problem for everyone and the constant increases are absolutely unbearable, we also have to balance funding schools and having good educational outcomes. And right now, Act 73 is really endangering schools in Vermont. And in the Advocacy Committee, we've done a lot to work with our reps and address these issues. I'll give a brief shout out to our student board members, Cyrus and Emma, who are juniors at Essex High School, because they went to the Senate Education Committee a couple weeks ago and presented about Act 73.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
So proud of them.
Well, sounds like some really great work that is being done on that board, and it makes sense why you want to continue it. Well, thank you very much. So we'll move on to our next question, which has to do with the school budget. So the Essex Westford School District has proposed a budget of $102 million. This would result in per pupil education spending being 2.82% higher than the current year. Do you support this school budget?
I want to start by saying that looking at per pupil student funding is a little tricky, because while it's tempting to measure what students cost by who is attending, butts in seats, that's not actually really how it works. Students have different levels of need. Sure. And while we are finding that in general across the district and across Vermont, population is declining, so student numbers are declining gradually. Student need, on the other hand, is increasing. So, when we're talking about per pupil education spending increasing 2.82%, well, the need is also increasing. And there are many factors that go into measuring need. These are rubrics that are determined by the state. These are not rubrics that we determine. So our budget is really conservative. We were very, very careful about spending. We always are. And I have to say, last year, we made tremendous cuts. This year, many other schools are being faced with tremendous cuts as well, painful cuts. We repurposed an entire school. We moved students from Westford into Essex Middle School. We cut, in the past 2 years, we've cut almost 200 employees, both administrative staff, teachers, paraprofessionals. We have made some very painful cuts in our district, and a budget of $102 million, which is just it's a very small increase. We're doing well. So I feel really good about the budget, and I know that we've done a lot to keep it under control.
Yeah, I mean, it's I appreciate the clarification there too, because it's easy to just look at numbers and be like, oh wow, but it's so complicated, and especially when it comes to having to cut positions, like it really complicates everything. This next question has to do with school funding and legislative reform. So the governor and Vermont legislature are responding to frustrations about high taxes and school spending, and have made steps to cut costs through consolidating districts and capping spending. What do you think the folks in Montpelier need to hear from local communities regarding these efforts?
I'm excited about this question because this is something that I've worked on extensively. And I'm really proud of the fact that we have been meeting regularly with our Essex legislative representatives, and we've been in touch with them constantly. This is absolutely a two-way street, and we're really grateful for the work they've done with us. We really need Montpelier to take a pause on Act 73. One of the big issues right now, so Act 73, as I said, is about redistricting and changing the fundamental way that education is funded in Vermont. Act 73 proposes something called a foundation formula. And the way that it is currently set up, we would be, and this is just one example of how we would be short money in our budget. Special education would be $6 million short in the calculations from the foundation formula. And that isn't just $6 million. Okay, this is $6 million. That's a school. That's a lot.
Yeah.
It also relates to federal law. There's something called maintenance of effort, which means that when you're funding special education, you can't cut. You must meet or exceed what was paid in the previous budget.
Oh.
So that's called maintenance of effort. So if we have a $6 million cut through foundation formula, we also lose $1.4 million in federal money.
Wow,
And
okay.
I mean, that is a huge loss.
Yeah.
So we really, really need Montpelier to take a pause on Act 73 and think more clearly about funding in particular. There are certain factors that are not considered at all, like our aging facilities. I mean, this is a problem faced throughout the state. Our school buildings are old. They need repairs, they need to be replaced. You know, foundation formula is something that is used in other states successfully. We need to look into what they're doing and how they're considering different factors. We cannot just move on ahead. And in fact, the Chittenden County superintendents and school board chairs just sent out a letter to Montpelier requesting a pause.
Okay.
Hopefully that has an impact.
Well, you know, this next question relates, I think, pretty closely to what you were just talking about, and it's challenges. So what do you see as the biggest challenge facing Essex Westford schools? And, you know, as a kind of a follow-up, how would you continue to use your seat on the school board to address this issue?
I think I've addressed Act 73 and the challenges it poses, but that's not the only challenge. You know, we have school buildings that are reaching the end of their life expectancy. And it's not that we haven't taken care of them. We have a tremendous facilities team and operations, and they work really hard to make our buildings as pretty and nice and healthy for students as they can. But you can go in and you can see where tiles have been worn, and it's an interesting situation because these tiles were put in when they used asbestos. And so any change, any remediation requires a major effort. So the repairs would be astronomically expensive, and they're becoming more expensive every year because more things are breaking down in our buildings. You know, there are buildings that have very antiquated heating and cooling systems. And if those break down, we would be closing the schools until they were repaired. It's really a nightmare because our students deserve a safe place to learn. It's only fair. You know, another challenge I want to address is getting community input. You know, it's so important for us to do the work that the community cares about, that we make a huge effort to be present, the whole school board. We attend so many activities. We are out there giving out candy at Pumpkin Palooza with the Essex Junction Parks and Rec. We are at every fine arts night. We are always present because we want to hear from students, teachers, parents, business owners. You know, that is so important to us.
Absolutely. You know, and I mean, it's so true. Like the longer you wait with anything construction-based, like I mean, it's just, it needs to be addressed when it comes up. And like you said, the students, I mean, deserve a healthy, functioning building to learn. This next question relates to the school buildings as well. So the district voted to move grades 6 through 8 from Westford School to Essex Middle School, as you mentioned, leaving Westford as a pre-K through 5 school. How do you think this change has affected students and the district?
This was a really tough process, moving these students out of Westford. We took it really seriously and looked into it very carefully and determined that we could save money moving 6th through 8th grade into Essex Middle School. We have heard genuinely that most students and most families are happy about the transition. There have been some problems with transportation. It is still a longer time. It's still a longer time on the bus for kids than we would like, and we're constantly working on that. We have heard previously that Westford kids had a little bit of a struggle adapting to high school, going from a very small, intimate, fantastic community school, going to a giant, really bustling, active
change.
I mean, Essex High School has a million options and opportunities, and that was apparently a challenge. And so we have heard from students that they're feeling more prepared for high school. And so that's a good thing. I think overall it's been a really, it was a period of growth, a little challenging at first and positive at the end.
Great. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I mean, any big changes like that, like it takes a lot of planning, and decisions aren't made lightly. So I'm glad to hear that it's mostly been a pretty smooth transition. Let's see. We've got a couple minutes left. I think I have time to ask you one more question on this list, and then I'll leave you a few minutes to discuss anything that we have not had a chance to mention that you would really like your constituents to know. Yep. So this question has to do with the political climate. Given the continued Trump administration's efforts to cut off funding for DEI efforts, end immigration, and remove safeguards for transgender people, what does the school district need to do to protect the community and individual civil rights? Excuse me.
I'm really glad that this is the question that you picked, because it gives me the opportunity to quote our prior superintendent, Beth Cobb, who said, "We will be following the law." And the law gives us plenty of protections. Our current government may be making decisions, but we are in fact following our legal requirements and rights. Police and paramilitary individuals are not allowed in our schools without a warrant. And if they come, our security is absolutely prepared to not let them enter, to not let them interface with students in campus. That is really important. Our students and our community's safety is really important to us, and we will be following the law. The same thing with DEI. I mean, we have an equity policy that is beautiful and developed and make sure that students at school are safe and able to learn. It doesn't prioritize one group of students over another. It just creates a level, safe playing field for everyone. And it is legal. That's the best part. We are doing what we are protected to do by law.
All right. Jemima, thank you. So I want to just give you the opportunity to mention anything else that we didn't get a chance to talk about that you would love to share, and perhaps as well how people can get in touch with you or learn more about the school board meetings.
Great. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this, and I probably talked too much about the issues I care about. I assume that everybody is equally engaged. So in my last moments, I would just like to say that I make a priority of talking to and listening to everyone. So if you are an Essex Westford School District resident, if you're a business owner, if you're a student, you can always reach out to us. You can always reach out to me, and I am happy to listen to your concerns, and I'm happy to direct you to the correct channel. We don't really fix things ourselves. We tend to direct people to the appropriate channel, but I'm going to help you, and I'm happy to do that. I am really excited for the opportunity to continue serving my community, and I work very, very hard in this position to make sure that I'm as effective and impactful as I can be.
Wonderful. Well, Jemima, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and I want to thank you all for tuning in to Town Meeting TV's coverage of local candidates, budgets, and ballot items. You can find more forums for the Essex Junction and Essex Westford School District election on cctv.org/TMD 2026. And don't forget to cast your ballot on town meeting day or on or before April 14th. And I will say that for the Essex election, that is Essex Middle School is the voting location.
For Essex Town.
Essex Town, yes.
Essex Junction, I believe, it goes to the Expo Center.
Yes.
Yeah.
So folks in Essex, 60 Founders Road, Essex Middle School. I was
Impressive.
surprised that I know that. So I'm an Essex resident too. So
Okay.
I'm like, I have to have it memorized.
I just want to say one last thing, which is that if you want to get in touch with me or any of the school board members, you go to the Essex Westford School District webpage. There's a whole tab that says School Board. It has our meeting minutes, our scheduled meetings, how you can join meetings remotely. Any information you need is there, including our contact information.
Wonderful, very helpful, and I appreciate you, sharing your views and serving the community on the school board. And we appreciate all of you for tuning in to Town Meeting TV.